No. So good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Is the sound okay? Yes? Okay. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we start. All of the titles that we'll be reviewing today are in our collection unless we specifically tell you that they're coming soon. Please set your cell phones to vibrate or turn the volume down so as not to upset other people's listening experiences. For your information, today's session is being recorded so as to be more inclusive and accessible to all. And also we are streaming live for our Zoom audience. So we're asking those of you who are present in the audience, if you can limit your noise because it's a little bit distracting for those people listening online. And lastly, I would like to thank the cote-saint-luc Women's Social Club who collaborated with the library on this event. And I think Maria just wants to make one announcement as well before we start our program. Hey, more housekeeping. We have a film this Friday, our Friday afternoon at the movies. We are screening Formula One at 2 o'clock right here in the auditorium. I also would invite you to buy tickets to the Jennifer Gazoy Holiday Concert. It is a family concert, so if you have grandkids, please bring them. It's only $5 per seat, and it's free if you're under 2. That's it. Okay, with that, welcome to another edition of You've Got to Read This. My name is Jennifer Eisman. I'm joined today by Maria Stevenson, Janine West, and Maria Racina. We have a great list of books lined up for you. Hopefully, we'll be able to give you something to read that'll be interesting for you to read over the fall or the winter. So without further ado, I'm going to get things started with my first title. Which is Etiquette for Lovers and Killers by Anna Fitzgerald Healy. This is a USA Today bestseller and one of Goodreads' most anticipated books. This is a dark, humorous, light-hearted romp of a mystery set in mid-1960s Maine with an unusual heroine. Billy McCarty is a townie in Eastport, Maine, where she's never felt at home with the other locals who fail to appreciate her sarcasm or her ambition to study linguistics and work in a museum. 26-year-old Billy lives with her grandparents and works as a seamstress. Her great thrill, aside from the novels, dictionaries, and etiquette manuals she loves, is checking her mailbox for rejection letters responding to her many employment applications to museums around the country. But then comes the fateful summer when Avery Webster notices her. Billy receives an envelope containing a love letter to an unknown Gertrude, along with an engagement ring. She is then invited to a solstice party at the fabulously wealthy Webster family's estate, where she discovers a freshly murdered corpse. Avery has the potential to be Billy's first taste of romance, but the strange communications pile up along with the bodies in sleeping, previously crime-free Eastport. Billy leaps into all of it because who needs life when you're busy investigating a murder? The chapters in the books are prefaced with relevant quotations from the Book of Etiquette that belong to Billy's mother, which emphasize that amid a murder case, a sex scandal, and a budding romance in 1960s Eastport, one must be mindful of appearances and manners. Stylish, playful, and more than a little tongue-in-cheek, Etiquette for Lovers and Killers blends intrigue and romance into a perfect cocktail. Billy herself offers a delightful combination of bookishness, wit, and questionable decision-making that will leave readers on edge until the final pages. As one reviewer has said online, graciously decline your plans for the evening because you'll be far too occupied with this delightfully twisty novel. Billy McCarty is Nancy Drew if Nancy had been raised by Emily Post and Dorothy Parker. This novel's romantic murderous vacation resplendent with jello salads and deliciously devious correspondence. My next title is Typewriter Beach by Meg White Clayton. This is the best-selling author of The Last Train to London and The Postmistress of Paris. Typewriter Beach is an instant USA Today bestseller, Washington Post 5 works of historical fiction to read. It is a top 10 library read. It's also on the list of the Los Angeles Times 10 reads. And lastly, the Publishers Weekly summer read list. Set in Carmel by the Sea and Hollywood, Typewriter Beach is an unforgettable story of the unlikely friendship between an Oscar-nominated screenwriter and a young actress hoping to be Alfred Hitchcock's new star. The novel alternates between 1957 and 2018, connecting two women separated by generations, but united by the relationship to the enigmatic screenwriter known simply as Shazam. The heart of the story lies in its beautifully complex protagonists. Isabelle Giori emerges as a young actress navigating the treacherous waters of 1950s Hollywood, her innocence gradually stripped away as she encounters the industry's darker realities. Isabella is 10 months into a 7-year studio contract when she auditions with Hitchcock. Just weeks later, she is sequestered by the studio's quote-unquote fixer in a tiny Carmel cottage. While there, she meets Leon Chazan, who is next door working on yet another screenplay he won't be able to sell because he's been blacklisted by the film industry. Fast forward to 2018, and we have 26-year-old screenwriter Gemma Chazan in Carmel to sell her grandfather's cottage. While there, she finds a hidden safe full of secrets, raising questions about who the screenwriter known as Chazan really was, and whether she can live up to his name. In the contemporary timeline, Jenna serves as both our guide to the mystery and reflection of her grandfather's creative spirit. Her struggle to find her voice as a screenwriter while uncovering family secrets provides emotional resonance that bridges the decades. Clayton's greatest strength lies in her ability to make a setting breathe with life. The Carmel cottage, where much of the action unfolds, becomes almost a character in itself, holding secrets within its walls. The author's descriptions of the California coastline are particularly evocative, painting scenes that feel both romanticized and lived in. Clayton clearly conducted extensive research into the Blacklist period, and her understanding of the entertainment industry's inner working feels genuine. At its core, Typewriter Beach explores the cost of artistic integrity in an industry built on compromise. Clayton examines how political persecution affects not just careers, but entire family legacies, showing how trauma echoes through the generations. The novel raises provocative questions about the relationship between art and politics, and personal truth and public image. The book also serves as a mediation on the nature of storytelling itself. Through both Leon and Gemma's struggles with their craft, Clayton explores what it means to find one voice as a writer and the courage required to tell difficult truths. Typewriter Beach delivers a satisfying reading experience that will linger long after the final page. My next title is The English Masterpiece by Catherine Ray. This is from the author who brought you The London House and the Berlin Letters. The English masterpiece is set in the world of 1970s London. It is a fast-paced read to the end, full of glamour, and secrets, and tensions, and lies, as one woman races against the clock to uncover the truth about a Picasso masterpiece. As the recently promoted assistant to Diana Gilden, the Tate's modern collection keeper, Lily helps plan a world-class Picasso exhibit to honor the passing of the artist. Lily has waited her whole life for this moment, and the opening is beyond anyone's expectations. That is, until Lily does the unthinkable and stops in front of a masterpiece, and she hears her own voice say, "It's a forgery." Lily's boss, Diana, has worked hard to become the trusted voice in London's modern art scene and respected across the continent. The Tate's Picasso commemorative exhibition was to be her crowning achievement. But when Lily makes her outrageous declaration, suspicious and scandal threaten everything Diana has achieved. Ray transports readers effortlessly into the prestigious corridors of the Tate Gallery. The author's meticulous research shines through every detail, from the gallery's hierarchical politics to the intricacies of art authentication. She weaves the art history into the plot in a way that places it at the core of the story without outshining the characters. Her knowledge of Picasso's work and the broader art market adds credibility to the plot's central premise. The 1970s setting also proves particularly effective as a backdrop for art forgery. This was an era when the art world was still recovering from World War II's cultural devastation, when provenance could be murky, and when technology hadn't yet caught up with the sophisticated forgery techniques. The investigation in the novel unfolds methodically, with each discovery adding another layer to the conspiracy. The author avoids the common pitfall of the mystery novel by not withholding information from the readers. Instead, we discover clues alongside Lily, making us active participants in solving the puzzle. The novel's central question, what makes a painting valuable, its beauty or its attribution, resonates throughout the story. Ray doesn't provide easy answers. While the novel clearly condemns criminal deception, it also acknowledges the arbitrary nature of some aspects of art valuation. As the New York Times bestselling author Lisa Barr said, "Art, London, 70s glam, yes please." The English masterpiece by Catherine Ray has all the goodies, especially for historical fiction lovers and art aficionados. Buckle your seatbelt as all hell breaks loose. This is perfect for fans of Kate Quinn and Ariel Lawhorn. So lock off your calendar and you should explore that title. My last title is The Keeper of Lost Art by Laura Morelli. This is from the USA Today bestselling author of The Night Portrait and The Last Masterpiece. Many works of art survived World War II only because concerned people cooperated to hide them. This includes Botticelli's exquisite Primavera, a celebration of love, youth, spring, and hope that spent the war concealed under risky conditions in a Tuscan villa. Inspired by the Primavera's true story, the author Laura Morelli has produced an uplifting novel that's both deeply felt and deeply informative, creating a vivid picture of the villa, its inhabitants, and the war-torn Italian countryside. As Allied bombs rained down on Torino in the autumn of 1942, Stella Costa's mother sends her to safety with distant relatives in a Tuscan villa. There, Stella finds her family tasked with a great responsibility, hiding nearly 300 priceless masterpieces from Florence, including Botticelli's famous Primavera. When a wave of refugees seek shelter in the villa, Stella befriends Sandro, an orphan boy with remarkable artistic talent. Amid the growing threats, Sandro and Stella take refuge in the villa's treasure room where the paintings are hidden. There, Botticelli's masterpiece and other works of art become a solace and inspiration, and the glue that bonds Stella and Sandro as dangers grow. The Keeper of the Lost Art takes readers on a breathtaking journey into one of the darkest chapters of Italy's history, highlighting the incredible courage of everyday people to protect some of the most important works of the Western civilization. The author demonstrates great respect and reverence for the artistic masterpieces. Impeccably researched and skillfully told, the author brings insight into the cultural values of works of art and their impact on society. The emotional weight of The Keeper of Lost Art culminates gradually, building to a moving conclusion that emphasizes both personal and cultural renewal. The novel's title takes on multiple meanings as we realize the lost art refers not only to the displaced paintings, but also to the disrupted traditions of peacetime life and the challenges of maintaining hope during war. This novel is a compelling read for anyone interested in history, art, and resilience of human spirit. It's perfect for fans of Kate Quinn and Kristen Hanna. So with that, you'll notice on my handout there's 4 other books at the bottom. I'd like to leave you with a few suggestions of books that you may want to discover. The first one is The Umbrella Maker's Son by Todd Lending. This is a poignant novel set during World War II, focusing on a young Polish Jew's struggle for survival and love amidst the horrors of Nazi invasion. This is for fans of Heather Morris and Lisa Farr. It is a powerful and unforgettable novel of survival against the odds and the remarkable power of love. It joins the ranks of The Tattooist of Auschwitz and other remarkable works of modern Holocaust literature. Read it, but keep your tissues handy. My next title is The Lost Story of Eva Fuentes, which is an unforgettable novel from the New York Times bestselling author Chanel Clayton. This is a story about a mysterious book with a legacy spanning from the beginning of the 20th century to the present day, uniting 3 women across time. Clayton masterfully blends history, suspense, and the enduring power of storytelling. Fans of Chanel Clayton will definitely want to pick this one up, but those who enjoy books about books will definitely enjoy this one as well. Second on my list is The Hong Kong Widow by Kristen Lush. The Hong Kong Widow is at once an eerie, haunted house gothic and a deeply profound meditation on mothers and daughters, the mysteries we end up keeping from each other, and the healing power of empathy and togetherness as a way of confronting and laying to rest ghosts of a painful past. Stunning prose, impeccable historical research, and page-turning suspense. Historical fiction fans will love this. Her first novel, The Russian Doll, was a finalist for the Edgar Award. My last title today is The Compound. This is a Good Morning America book club pick. It is a gripping debut novel by Ashley Rao that explores the dark side of reality television through the lens of a dystopia competition. What would you do to win? According to Oprah Daily, it is as addictive as your favorite guilty pleasure binge watch, but with all the substance of a literary classic. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Maria.
Okay, hello. So for this session of You Gotta Read This, I'm excited to talk about 4 novels that left a lasting impression on me. Each one is gentle, deeply human, and quietly powerful. Stories that remind us of the beauty in ordinary moments, the importance of kindness, and the possibility of healing no matter where we are in life. My first book is Second Chance Convenience Store. It's a quiet, contemplative novel that doesn't need big twists or flashy storytelling to move you. Instead, it draws you in with its warmth, its humanity, and its deep sense of empathy. The story follows Yong-soo, a man who lived a life full of regret. He's isolated, disconnected, carrying the weight of past mistakes. When he's offered a job at a small convenience store, it seems like nothing more than a way to pass time. But what unfolds is something more profound. Through simple routines of stocking shelves, greeting customers, and sharing meals, Yong-soo begins to rediscover a sense of purpose. Slowly, quietly, he starts to heal. What makes this book special is how it finds beauty in the ordinary. The convenience store isn't just a backdrop, it's almost a character of its own. It's a place where people from all walks of life pass through, where small acts of kindness add up, and where transformation happens not through grand gestures, but through everyday moments. The writing is gentle and poetic, full of empathy and insight. Yeon-Hoo Kim allows us to sit with Young-soo's loneliness and witness his slow return to life. Set in Soul, the story offers a glimpse of Korean values, humility, community, quiet perseverance. If you love character-driven stories and believe in the power of second chances, the Second Chance Convenience Store is one you have. I'm sorry. I'll speak louder too. If that story was about rediscovering purpose, this one is about rediscovering connection. The Incredible Kindness of Paper by Evelyn Skye is a tender, whimsical novel that unfolds like one of the origami roses at the heart of the story. Delicate, thoughtful, and quietly magical. It's also my obligatory romance. Everyone who knows me knows there's always got to be one. It follows Chloe Quinn, a guidance counselor in New York City, who feels her life hasn't gone quite as planned. To cope, she starts folding yellow paper roses, each with a handwritten message of encouragement. At first, it's just for herself, but soon she begins leaving them around the city for strangers to find. One of those roses reaches Oliver Jones, her childhood pen pal, who disappeared years ago. Their reconnection is slow and deeply human, told through letters, memories, and chance encounters. What makes this story shine is its celebration of small kindnesses, a note, a flower, a few gentle words. The prose is soft and empathetic, reminding us that kindness doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. There's also a light touch of magical realism, just enough to make you believe the universe might be nudging them together. If you enjoy introspective, hopeful stories that leave you smiling quietly at the end, The Incredible Kindness of Paper is one you shouldn't miss. My third book is Dinner at the Night Library by Hika Harada. Continuing that same theme of quiet transformation, my third recommendation is The Dinner at the Night Library by Hika Harada. It's a story for anyone who finds comfort in books, food, and community. We meet Otoa Higuchi, a woman burned out by her job at a busy bookstore. Her love for books is still there, but fading, until she receives a mysterious invitation to work at the night library. This library only opens from 7 p.m. to midnight and houses books written only by deceased authors. It's not a lending library, it's a sanctuary of literary memory. The staff are kind but eccentric, and every night ends with a shared meal inspired by the books on the shelves. Dishes drawn from Anne of Green Gables, Japanese classics, and more. These dinners become rituals of connection, and through them, Otoa begins to heal. Around her are others who've been bruised by the publishing world, editors, booksellers, librarians, all finding comfort in this quiet place. Harada writes with deep empathy for people who build their lives around literature. The library itself feels alive, mysterious, comforting, and transformative. If you love stories about found family, cozy rituals, and the healing power of books, Dinner at the Night Library is one you'll want to linger over. My final recommendation felt like a quiet conversation with a friend. Yongnan Dong's Smiley Laundromat by Kim Ji-yoon is set in a small corner laundromat in Seoul, a humble place that becomes a sanctuary for connection. It begins with Old Yang, a retired pharmacist living alone with his loyal dog, Jindol. One day he discovers a green diary left behind, filled with anonymous confessions, questions, and quiet cries for help. Moved by one entry, he writes back. That small act starts a ripple of kindness. We then meet others connected to the laundromat, a mother rediscovering herself, a screenwriter facing burnout, a young woman starting over. Each is lonely in their own way, yet through the diary and the soft yellow light of the laundromat, they begin to find comfort. Kim Ji-yoon's prose is tender and lyrical. She gives her characters time to breathe and grow. The laundromat isn't just a backdrop, it's a place where people fold laundry, sip coffee, and leave behind pieces of their hearts. It's a love letter to community, to second chances, and to the quiet ways we care for each other. If you're drawn to heartfelt, character-driven stories full of warmth, this is one that you'll want to spend time with. Each of these novels celebrates stillness, connection, and the courage to keep going. Whether set in a convenience store, a city park, a midnight library, or a neighborhood laundromat, they remind us that even in quiet spaces, extraordinary things can happen. If you're looking for stories that are heartfelt, hopeful, and deeply human, these are for you. So the next books on my current to-be-read list are 5 novels that explore comfort, healing, and finding meaning in extraordinary moments. So more of the same. I'm really excited to read them, and I think they'll resonate with anyone who loves stories that offer both warmth and tranquility. Let's start with We'll Prescribe You a Cat, and its sequel, We'll Prescribe You Another Cat. These novels take place in a small clinic where doctors do something a little unusual. Instead of just medicine, they prescribe cats. Each cat helps its new owner heal in unexpected ways. From loneliness, grief, or even just the weariness of daily life, the stories are gentle and touching, reminding us how much comfort and companionship animals can bring. My next book is The Ex-Boyfriend's Favorite Recipe Funeral Committee. This one mixes humor and heartache in the best way. The story follows a group of people who cook their favorite dishes of their exes as a way to say goodbye. Now, I don't have the summaries for the other books, but I can tell you what they're about, if you come and see me. I don't know what happened. Yeah, well, I can at least tell you the titles, because I have not read them. They are my to be read. So yeah, the favorite recipe, community, menu of happiness, and the healing hippo of Hinde Park. And I can't tell you what they're about because I don't remember. But come and see me and I'll let you know. Yeah. Yes. But I put them on my to read list too, for a reason because they sounded good. I'm not going to pass it to Vinny.
I would not. I would definitely not. A dog might be different. Can everybody hear me? Voice is good. So, I want to highly recommend one of Jennifer's choices, the English masterpiece. I just finished it. I could not put it down. So it definitely deserves a place on our you gotta read list. I've got to read this list because it's really, really good. So everybody run to the library and take it out. There'll probably be a waiting list. I have not read her other books, but I loved her writing, so I highly recommend that one as well. The English Masterpiece. Really, really good book. From Jennifer's list. Okay, so now we'll get on to my list. Just giving Jennifer a plug there. So my first recommendation blends women's history and personal choice, and it's titled The Women on Platform 2. And the author's name is Laura Anthony. So Anthony's novel takes place on a train from Dublin to Belfast in the present time, 2023. And this is an annual journey that honors the many women who fought for contraception for the Irish women in the late 1960s, early 1970s in a Catholic Republic of Ireland. And the 47 women who traveled that route to purchase birth control in the unregulated Northern Ireland. So this actually happened. So this is an annual trek that I believe still happens that honors these women. So the story opens in 2023 where a young nurse named Hirosha, hoping I am saying that correctly for anybody who's Saoirse is, and she's grappling with a deeply personal decision. Her fiance Miles wants children, but she's not ready. And perhaps she realizes she may never be ready. And after a tense argument, Saoirse walks away from their apartment and she ends up at the train station. She returns a photograph that a woman had dropped, and she very impulsively boards the train with the woman. The woman introduces herself as Maura, and she begins to tell Saoirse her story. It's 1969 in Dublin when Maura marries a very, very respectable doctor. That's what women did at the time, and they want to get married. They wanted to get married young and have a family and build a home. But she quickly discovers that the very, very charming doctor is not actually so charming. He's very, very abusive, and it actually starts on the way out of the church the day of her wedding. So she is determined that she does not want to bring any children into this very, very abusive household. But she has no really any means to prevent any pregnancy. So out of loneliness and despair, she befriends another young woman by the name of Bernie, who is a butcher's wife. And she's the mother of three, who learns that another pregnancy might kill her. So both women are well aware that contraception is illegal in Ireland at that time. And these women, they band together with other women to join a very quiet but radical movement to fight for control over their own bodies. And this is when they travel to Belfast, which where birth control was legal because of northern Protestant Ireland, and they go by train to purchase contraception. So why did I think this book was great? So it brings to light a very unknown chapter of Irish history. I did not know about this. I did not know about this historical train, this ride to Belfast. So it talks about that. It brings this subject to light, but it also brings to light the whole ban of contraception in Ireland and the very courageous women who went to battle for it. It's got that interpersonal sort of blend of very intimate stories of marriage, of abuse, what it means to be a mother, and the choice to want to be a mother or the choice not to want to be a mother. And within all of this, in the whole context of social change. And I really like books with dual time. This really works for me, that it really connects the past to the present. Allows two very, very separate but intertwined stories to come together. Critics and readers respond very, very positively to the book. One reviewer states, Anthony delivers an immersive intergenerational story about contraception in Ireland. Highly recommend this book, The Women on Platform 2. My second book is Becoming Madam Secretary by Stephanie Dray. So this is a book that's equal parts biography, political drama, social justice, combined with a very, very personal story. It tells the incredible true story of Frances Perkins, a woman that I did not know anything about, and I feel I should have been a student of American history, but I did not know anything about her. She was the very first woman to serve in a U.S. presidential cabinet. The novel begins, and the novel opens in the early 1900s. So it begins with a very young Frances arriving in New York City at the turn of the 20th century, a city teeming with poverty, factory labor, and social unrest. And Frances is determined to make a difference. When she witnesses the horrific Triangle Shirtwaist factory fire, I'm sure a lot of people have heard about that, she really dedicates her life to fighting for workers' rights, child labor laws, and safer workplaces. As she rises through the ranks, Frances finds herself working very closely with Franklin D. Roosevelt. Against all odds, in this political world dominated by men, she becomes his Secretary of Labor during the Great Depression. With Frances's prodding and persistence, it's really her that helps to shape programs like Social Security, unemployment insurance, and minimum wage laws. And although she tried very, very hard to get medical insurance and Medicaid, Medicare, she didn't win that battle. And we can kind of see that that is still an argument that's being made today. The story has not ended. But dealing with all the political history, Dre also really shows us the personal cost of that public success. The sacrifices, the loneliness, the private struggles that Frances herself faced while holding together or trying to hold together her family and her own sense of self. So why I thought this book was great, because it really brings history to life with vivid emotional storytelling. This is not like a dry political biography. This is a very engaging story. You can really feel the grit of New York streets, the smoky rooms of Washington politics, and the really quiet strength of this amazing, amazing woman who was determined to serve a cause that was larger than herself.
Dre balances historical accuracy with heart, showing not just what Frances achieved, but who she was. She was passionate, she was very conflicted, and she was deeply human. Critics and readers alike have praised Becoming Madam's Secretary for its meticulous research. This is an amazing biography, um, fictional biography, an inspiring portrayal of perseverance. It's the kind of novel that really leaves you inspired and a little awe about all this one person, this very determined person could accomplish and how she could change the world. My next book is The Sirens by Amelia Hart. Amelia Hart is the author of Wayward, which was a personal favorite of mine. I really, really love that book. So I was very, very anxious to pick up Sirens, which is her latest book. This was a Good Morning America pick, and deservedly so. The story unfolds in two time periods. Again, another one of my favorite type of books, with two pairs of sisters. In the present day Australia, we meet Lucy, who is a university journalism student whose life is upended when all of a sudden she awakes to this nightmare and she's strangling her ex-lover. Actually strangling her ex-lover. It's not the nightmare. She's stunned and she's terrified, and she flees to the seaside town of Comber Bay to seek refuge with her older sister, Jess, but Jess cannot be found. Jess is missing, her home is abandoned, and very strange legends about the water and missing men in the area begin to swirl. At the same time, we travel back to 1800, where two other sisters, twin sisters, Eliza and Mary, in Ireland, are forcibly transported as convicts to New South Wales aboard a prison ship. Their journey is brutal and transformative, and the sea becomes a metaphor for a reality for escape and change. As the two timelines intertwine, Hart explores themes of trauma, identity, and sisterhood, and the power and the danger of the sea, and what it really means to reclaim your story. Why I like this book, the writing itself, I love, as I said, her writing. It's atmospheric, it's very immersive, and Hart effectively captures the sound of the sea, the smell of the salt, the eeriness of Comber's Bay. The sea is not only a setting, it's also a symbol. And also, the dual timeline structure gives us both history and an interesting history about the convict ships and about women convicts who were actually transported to Australia during the 1800s. Overall, The Sirens has been well received for its ambition and mood, and critics highlight her gift for crafting complex, unforgettable female characters, women who are wounded, who are troubled, but are defiant. So I really, really highly recommend this book again. My final pick for the recommendations section is Finding Flora by Eleanor Florence, and we will be discussing, for those of you who are here tonight from the Evening Book Club, this is the book that we are going to be discussing tonight, and I'm very excited about this book, very happy to share it here as well, because I want everybody to read it. The story takes us to 1905 Alberta. Laura Craigie, a young Scottish woman, makes a very, very bold and maybe strange decision. She actually leaps from a moving train to escape her abusive husband and his control. She's desperate for freedom. She's desperate for a place that she can call her own. So she claims a homestead on the open prairie. This is something that was actually illegal unless somebody would sell a script for it. And she meets a nurse who had fought in World War, who happened to have the script, and that is how she obtained this homestead. Once there, she discovers that she isn't alone. Her neighbors include a Welsh widow with 3 children, 2 American women who are living together and raising chickens, and a Métis woman who trains wild horses. Together, and often separately, they battle the harsh land, the hostile attitudes toward women farmers, and the threat of the government land agents who are ready to strip away their claim. Out of necessity, the women band together to protect their homesteads, their lives, and the right to make their own way. At the same time, Flora must reckon with her past as her violent husband continues to search for her. And the competition for land along the newly expanding railway lands adds more danger and urgency to her struggle. So in short, this is a story of fleeing the old, facing the new, and claiming one's place in a land that doesn't really expect you to succeed, especially if you are a woman. So I love the book because this sense of place, the Canadian prairies is, in the era is very strong. Florence draws on her own background. She grew up on a Saskatchewan farm. She has Scottish roots, and she brings the prairie, the homestead life, the isolation, and hope into sharp relief. I love the characters in the book. They all shine. Flora is determined, vulnerable, and courageous, and also a little bit flawed. The group of women around her are from very diverse backgrounds. We have, again, as I said, a Welsh woman, we have a Métis woman, and we have 2 American spinsters that create this very, very powerful dynamic. The themes resonate: escape from abuse, forging your own identity, making your own way, survival in a very harsh environment, women working together, forming a community. And of course, the research and the historical grounding really, really elevate this story. It's not just a backdrop, but it's really integrated meaningfully into the narrative. Critically, Finding Flora has received very positive feedback. One reviewer highlights, historical fiction readers will love this fascinating, incredibly researched story of survival and courage, honoring the strength and resilience of early female pioneers. It's uplifting, it's richly textured, and it gives voice to women and their perspective, which are often overlooked. So, books to discover. So my first book is The Blackbirds of St. Giles by Lila Kane, and I just finished it, and I actually would have moved it up to highly recommending this book. This was probably my favorite book of the year. I love this book. Lila Kane represents 2 authors writing under one name. So 2 women authors wrote the book together. It takes the reader from an 18th century Jamaican plantation to the English colonies during the American Revolution, then to the grimy streets of London's underworld. And when I say underworld, I mean underworld. It's under the streets of London. This whole community and this whole story takes place. The main characters that we follow are Daniel and his younger sister Pearl, who escaped slavery. They earn the promise of freedom because he fights in the War of Independence. So he's promised his freedom by the King of England. He is also promised an inheritance because he's in the militia. He's promised an inheritance. And he ends up in London only to have all of his dreams, all of his hopes shattered. And he enters into a life filled with poverty and violence almost equal to the one that he escaped in Jamaica. So why you should read this book? Well, the setting is immersive and expertly researched. Again, an amazing story. It features a very unknown aspect of London's hidden underground of St. Giles in the 18th century, and the lives of Black people who actually lived there. So they're living under the city. It's truly, truly amazing. The writing is unbelievable because it reads like a 19th century classic, an English classic. Think Dickens. Like I felt that I could be reading Great Expectations. It is that good. So moving on to my next book. For some of you may know that in September I went to Prague and I became immersed in all things Prague. So when I came back, everything I read had to be set in Prague. So I didn't put it on my list, but I read, the first book I read was Dan Brown's The Secret of Secrets. And that is amazing. I thought it was like, okay, I can't put Dan Brown on my list of recommended books, but I wanted to. So this is why you are seeing The Last Bookshop in Prague by Ellen Parusel on my book list. So in Nazi-occupied Prague, a small bookshop becomes more than just a store. It becomes a sanctuary for a community of women readers. Jana, the shop's young owner, clings to her late mother's legacy and the power of stories. Against this backdrop, the bookshop evolves into a very quiet hub of resistance. Window displays become covert signals, bookmarks hide secret codes, and children are whisked away into safety. Helen Parasel weaves historical detail and emotional resonance into a page-turning tale of courage and quiet defiance. So if you enjoy historical fiction that reveals lesser-known corners of the war and that honors the quiet heroism of ordinary people, and that reminds us of the value of books and truth, even during the darkest of times, this is a must read. I really enjoyed this book. Next is Culpability by Bruce Halsinger. So this is totally different from all of the books on my reading list. It's an Oprah Book Club book. It's Bruce Halsinger is an author that I've read before. He writes contemporary fiction that appears to draw directly from the current social, political, and environmental headlines. So I read The Gifted School by him, and that was about elite education privilege and college entrance exam and the college admissions scandal that happened, I think, in 2016 or 17. He followed that up with a book called The Displacements, which was about a Category 6 hurricane. And now in his new novel, Culpability, a family road trip in a very sleek, self-driving minivan ends up in a crash, killing 2 elderly people. And the question is posed, who are we to blame? Is it the self-driving car? Is it the teenage son who was at the wheel of that car? Is it the parent in the passenger's seat who bears the legal responsibility for the teenage son who's driving the car? Or is it another family member in the car who's hiding the secret? So what starts as a fascinating domestic tragedy, and I have to say the cover of this book does not do this book justice. It looks very serene, beach-like, summer vacation. This is not what this book is about. Every character has something to hide, and this becomes a very, very sharp and very unsettling thriller about distributed responsibility in the age of AI and big questions about trust and guilt and whether any of us will be in control once this kind of becomes the norm. So it really poses the question, how AI will reshape not just our lives, but also our moral world. The book is very snappy, fast reading, very thought-provoking, and deeply timely. So I highly recommend this book. All Things Under the Moon by Anne Y.K. Choi. So this book came to me from a library member who read a review in, I believe, the Toronto Globe and Mail, and she said, you have to get this book, you have to read this book. So got it right away. And I have to say, I haven't quite finished it. I did my best for today, so I finished the book, but I have to say, this book is a gem. Set in 1924 Korea, which is under Japanese occupation at the time, this novel introduces us to Nan Young, a young woman from a rural village who dares to dream of reading and writing, even when society insists her place is silent and unseen. When a devastating tragedy strikes and an arranged marriage threatens to define her future, Na Young and her best friend, Yeon Soo, make a bold escape to Seoul, where they encounter revolution, secret messages, and the possibility of self-determination. The novel is a tribute to sisterhood, to women helping other women survive in a world that's stacked against them. And I quote here a line from the book, "Women need other women to survive." And isn't that true? Look at all the women in the audience today. If you love immersive historical fiction with strong female leads, richly detailed settings in faraway lands, and stories of literacy, resistance, and identity, then All Things Under the Moon is a must-read. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Maria. So the paper is Maria R, not to be confused with Maria Morales, the other Maria at the library. When you're last, you have the chance to get nervous. Okay, so my first book is The Lies They Told by Ellen Marie Wiseman, available on Cloud Library. So this book I chose because it was the only one available at the time, because Janine got all the books I wanted on Cloud Library. Good thing it was great. So this is a it's very good. It's a historical fiction. Another one where the cover and the title do nothing for the book. I'm telling you to read the book. The marketing team didn't do it justice. So this is the story of Lena Conti. She's a young mother who arrives from Germany at Ellis Island with her mother, brother, and her little girl, Ella, who is 2. It's the 1930s, just after World War I. Her mother has arranged for them to live with a distant relative and help him to take care of his farm in the mountains of Virginia. They've never met the relative. So when she sees immigrant families forcibly being separated on Ellis Island, she vows not to let the officers take her daughter. The inspection process is more rigorous than she imagined, and she is separated from her mother and teenage brother, who are labeled burdens to society, denied entry, and deported back to Germany. Now she's alone, but she's determined to give her daughter a better chance at life after years of living in poverty and near starvation. She finds herself facing a future unlike anything that she had envisioned. Silas Wolfe is the distant relative that Lena is meant to stay with. He is widowed, he is bitter, and he is terrifying. So reluctantly, he brings Lena and her daughter, who he didn't know were coming at all. They were just expecting the mother and the brother. And hold on, I've lost my thought. Yes. So he brings her to this weathered cabin in Virginia's Blue Ridge Mountains to care for his home and his 2 children, Bonnie and Jack Henry. As Lena meets their neighbors, she realizes that this is a vibrant community. They are close-knit, but she also senses a growing unease. The state of Virginia is scheming to paint them as ignorant, immoral, and backwards so they can be evicted from their land, their children seized, and to deal with them as possessing inferior genes. This is based on a real story. It explores this dark part of American history, the American eugenics movement, the racism faced by immigrants at Ellis Island, and then the hostile takeover of Blue Ridge Mountain by the Virginia government with the aim of forming Shenandoah National Park, where people go and hike today. So I had no idea any of this had ever happened. I was completely engrossed by this story. I read it in like a day. It is profoundly tragic. It's a take on injustice and survival. And then I fell down this rabbit hole of learning about the Blue Ridge Mountain community. Uh, there are photographs online, if you look them up, where people are trying to connect with ancestors that had lived on the mountains. And apparently, if you hike there, you can still find the chimneys of the homes that were seized. The pictures were taken by Arthur Rothstein, who's famous for taking pictures of the American Dust Bowl. It highlighted the power of images and how public opinion has been manipulated since the beginnings of photography to believe what benefits those taking the picture. It's propaganda in the 1930s. The book was so powerful and engrossing that I genuinely struggled to find the next book to put on this list. This is a good one for fans of Women Talking by Miriam Toews and Educated by Tara Westover. The next one, because I was struggling so hard, I went back to an author I know well, who has already read a Friedrich Bachmann. I thought more people actually. So it's another masterpiece from him. He is the author of A Man Named Ove and Beartown. It's a beautiful tribute to coming of age and to the intensity of the friends that we make as teenagers, but it is not a YA book. It is a book about an endless sea of profound friendship and a true love story. It delves into grief, sacrifice, heart jokes, uproarious laughter, spontaneous adventures, learning to trust, and protecting loved ones at all costs. It's about the serendipity of art. It's about finding our own pearl in an oyster shell and learning to let go. It's a story of genuine friendship, heartfelt, clumsy, straightforward, smart, sentimental, shocking, and emotionally resonant. Kathy Diamond will be reviewing it in December, so I'm not alone in thinking this is a great book. It is also not told chronologically, so we have the dual timeline that Janine so loves. 15 years before the story begins, we have four childhood friends. Yoar, a big little man with the sharpest sarcastic humor. Ali, tough as nails, quick-witted, and fiercely independent. She is the only girl in the group. Ted, a mostly introverted, bookish soul who collects words like treasures, using them to craft brilliant stories. He's caring, quirky, smart, and sensitive, and he is a character that appears in both timelines. And then the artist, a prodigy who sketches the laughter of his friends while embodying the vastness of the sea and the sky. The cover of the book, I think, is meant to be the painting in the story. It's the second book on that drawing. Although it's not quite described like that. Again, maybe the marketing team needs to reread the book. So we begin the story of Louisa, who is the current protagonist. She is a quirky, awkward, fiercely intelligent girl raised in foster care, and she's fleeing a church where the painting that this artist created is being auctioned. She is obsessed with seeing this artist's work in person because she has a postcard that she's been carrying from foster home to foster home with that image. And then she runs into the artist in the alleyway, and he instantly recognizes her as an artist herself. And he devises a plan and enlists Ted, his childhood friend, to carry it out before he passes away. And that is how Louisa becomes entwined in this story and discovers the real meaning behind the painting. The painting is called On the Sea. So at 17, Louisa is alone. She's grieving the loss of her best friend, Fish, and she's carrying all of her belongings in her backpack. So she and Ted go on this voyage on a train where he tells her the story of his childhood, and they connect. The book is philosophical, poignant, raw, and hard-hitting, as I think all of Bachman's books are. It deals with addiction, domestic abuse, mental health struggles, and human connection. It's surprisingly uplifting, though you do worry that everyone will die throughout the entire thing. My next one, speaking of death, is Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. I believe someone recommended it in their books to discover last time we did this. Does anyone know John Green from other books he's written? So yes, exactly. The Fault in Our Stars, it's a film. So John Green and his brother Hank Green are big YouTube celebrities. They run a YouTube channel called Brotherhood 2.0, and John Green is best known for The Fault in Our Stars, which was a popular book about teenagers with cancer. So This book is about, it's a nonfiction, but it's written sort of like a novel, and it's focused on John Green's charity in Sierra Leone that he does, uh, building hospitals in Sierra Leone. So he himself struggles with OCD, which makes him hyper aware of germs. He wrote another book that's focused on that called The Turtles All the Way Down, which was also made into a movie. So he having OCD and being afraid of germs, it makes it all the more impressive that this story takes place in a tuberculosis hospital called LACA, where John Green, is traveling with Bill Gates. And he meets there, this is a true story, real thing. He meets a young boy called Henry, who reminds him of his own son, also named Henry. And he initially thinks that this boy is the same age as his son because of their height and their stature and their energy. He just assumes that this boy belongs to someone who works at the hospital. But then he's surprised to learn that Henry is a patient at the hospital who has drug-resistant tuberculosis, which is why he's so small. So he lives at the hospital, this boy who's actually 19, in the tiny dark rooms with nothing but a cot. Henry and his mother, Izatu's story are kind of the foundations of the book. And then around that, John Green talks about the role of tuberculosis in world history. And there are a lot of really interesting anecdotes from like the beginnings of World War I being tied to the fact that the teenagers who killed Franz Ferdinand, that the one who ended up being able to accomplish the deed had TB. So there's kind of this suggestion of how this illness has impacted human history, or the American West springing up from people with TB being sent over west for dry air because they didn't have ways of dealing with tuberculosis. And he also analyzes how perceptions of the illness have changed over time and how that's impacted the experience of those who have TB. So it's the history of consumption, which is what tuberculosis used to be called. The anecdotes spread from literature, music, history, and are a fascinating look at how human history has been impacted through affliction, not just TB, but other illnesses as well, and how we perceive them. It's not written in any sort of medical way. It's a personal narrative and a call to action. It urges readers to recognize the ongoing challenges posed by not just TB, but all contagious illnesses, and the need for equitable healthcare solutions. I thought it was absolutely fascinating. It stayed with me for a long time. If you prefer short stories, there's a short story base that then got expanded into this novel that John Green wrote called The Anthropocene Reviewed, Essays on a Human-Centered World. You can also go watch videos of John Green and Bill Gates traveling through Ethiopia on a vaccination campaign on YouTube. It's great. It's not for, you don't need an expertise. He's a novelist, not a scientist. He has no medical background. Great read. I don't usually recommend nonfiction, so I went on a limb for this one. The last one is called The Names by Florence Knopp. So one of my weird hobbies is my love of names, how they vary by country, by culture, by social status, how they function in our day-to-day lives, how we shorten them, lengthen them, use middle names, patronymics, and how we connect to others who share our names, whether it's your first name or your family name. So as soon as I read the synopsis, I knew I would love this novel. So it functions on the premise that the names we're given have a significant impact on the way our lives play out. It opens in 1987 with a woman, Cora Atkin. She's newly a mother to her second child, and she's going to register the birth of her son. Her husband, Gordon, a respected doctor in their community, yet controlling and abusive at home, wants their baby to be named after him. Cora hesitates. Their 9-year-old daughter, Maya, suggests the name Bear. She says it's soft and cuddly, but also brave and strong. So Cora considers what she would call her son if it was her choice. And she likes Julian, which means sky father or transcendence, the idea to transcend your father. The choice of name sets the stage. And then we have these 3 parallel lives that these characters would live depending on the name chosen. And it moves through it in 7 years intervals. So you go from each, so if the child was called Bear, Julian, or Gordon, as his father was. So depending on the name chosen, it's a completely different life, not just for the child, but also for his mother and his sister. In some versions, his mother doesn't even survive the abusive husband. And then there's also the question of how does the child connect to the father? How much does he feel that legacy if he has the same name? And then how do you live if your name is Bear? Is it a very different kind of life? Are you more likely to be artistic? Or Julian is shortened to Jules, so he becomes interested in making jewelry. It's very compelling, but it's also really poignant, and you continue to want to know which timeline has a happy ending, if any. So, highly recommend this one. Total surprise. It got me thinking about how names impact my own life and those around me, and how each person's name choice, if you've had children or grandchildren, that naming process is an interesting experience. If you have a Hebrew name, if you have a way that you were called at home. So those are really interesting. And if you're interested in names, the top baby name consultant in the UK just published a book. Her name is S.J. Strom, and the book is called Baby Name Envy. It's a good time. So those are my 4, and then I've got my books to discover. I haven't read them, but I'll give you summaries. Keeper of Lost Children by Sadiqa Johnson. It follows the story of Ethel Gathers, an American woman living in occupied Germany in the 1950s, a historical fiction. After encountering a group of mixed-race children abandoned in an orphanage, she feels compelled to help them find home. The narrative toggles between Ethel's life and those of 2 other characters, Ozzie Phillips, a Black American soldier facing racism in the army, and Sophia Clark, a young girl in 1965 who discovers her identity while attending a prestigious boarding school. My second one is the only romance on the list. It is Cherry Baby by Rainbow Rowell. I love all of Rainbow Rowell's books, equally her adult as her YA. This one is coming out in April. It is said to be a breathtakingly honest novel about loving yourself enough to believe that someone else might love you. So this is the story. Everybody knows that Cherry's husband, Tom, is in Hollywood making a movie, and nobody knows that he isn't coming home. He's the creator of a semi-autobiographical webcomic that's become an international phenomenon. And one of the characters is based on his wife, Cherry, who he has drawn and written as a wide-hipped, heavy-chested, double-chinned character named Baby. She did not want this, but there's no getting away from it now. Baby looks so much like Cherry that strangers recognize her at the grocery store. While Tom's in LA getting rich and famous, she's stuck in Omaha taking care of the dog he always wanted and the house they were supposed to raise a family in. She had promised to love Tom through thick and thin, and she'd meant it, but it's getting hard. And one night, Cherry decides to leave all her problems at home. She ventures out to see her favorite band, play her favorite album, and she meets a man from her past who recognizes her from across the room, from when she was a young art student with a fondness for pinup dresses and patent leather heels. I think it's going to be a fun time. The third is Diana World by Edward White. If you read Spare, this might be your jam if you're interested in the history of the royal family. So over the last 40 years, the mythology of Princess Diana has turned the woman who was born Diana Spencer into a symbol for almost anything. From a harbinger of Brexit populism, an all-American consumer capitalist, the savior of the British aristocracy, a catalyst for #MeToo, and in the words of a superfan, the biggest punk that's come out of England. Diana connects with a wider array of people than any member of the royal family ever has, and Edward White goes about interviewing people from her life. It's a portrait of the princess and group portraits of those who knew her intimately, those who worked with her and for her, and the many ordinary people whose connection to Diana reveals her unique and enduring legacy. I recommend you give that one a go. It's on Cloud Library as well. Nonfiction. It's in interview format, which I like. And then my last one is The Frequency of Living Things by Nick Fuller Googans. When middle sister Ara lands in jail, her responsible twin Josie, fading rock star sister Emma, and estranged mother Bertie must each confront past wounds and shifting roles as they navigate addiction, ambition, and the fragile bonds holding their fractured family together. I think that sounds like a very interesting intergenerational good time. That's it for me. So I just want to say thank you to my colleagues for participating in our panel. They graciously agree whenever I come around and ask them to participate. And so I'm very, very thankful. They've shared a bunch of titles with you today that I hope you will enjoy. You have a lot to choose from: women's fiction, nonfiction, Asian fiction, historical fiction, contemporary fiction. A lot of these titles are on library lists of books to read, books to watch out for that we as librarians subscribe to. So they're all pretty much highly recommended, and happy reading.